The 3 years left for this administration, we have given ourselves the target of 10,000 megawatts distributable power.
President Buhari sets template for contemporary viable socio-economic policy.
We are bringing more constructions here, more renovations and rehabilitations.
Universal Basic Education Commission rebuilds schools for children in Borno State. Walking the talk towards the essence of water to life. Plus, Revenue Mobilization Commission says NNPC yet to remit about 5 trillion naira. Good evening. Thanks for joining us on NTA Network News. I'm Cyril Stober. A National Economic Council retreat aimed at generating immediate, medium and long-term viable policy solutions to national economic challenges kicked off this Monday in Abuja. President Muhammadu Buhari, who declared the session open, promised to put an end to power shortages as the bane of Nigeria's socio-economic development. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu reports.
With the theme Nigerian States, Multiple Centers of Prosperity, the National Economic Council retreat, which will last 2 days, is aimed at finding practical solutions to the grave challenges facing the Nigerian economy for genuine national prosperity. President Muhammadu Buhari, in a keynote address, outlined some policy options on agriculture, power, housing, manufacturing, and healthcare, which he believes are critical pathways to economic prosperity. On power, for instance, the president laments that in spite of privatization, the sector has yet to show any improvement in the quality of service, with constant power cuts destroying economic activity and affecting quality of life.
In our determination to change, we must and will, inshallah, put a stop to power shortages. In the 3 years left for this administration, we have given ourselves the target of 10,000 megawatts distributable power. In 2016 alone, we intend to add 2,000 megawatts to the national grid.
President Buhari also tasked participants at the retreat to identify short and long-term solutions to the challenges bedeviling the local manufacturing industries, such as inadequate infrastructure, lack of long-term funding, smuggling, and high lending rates.
The Infrastructure Development Fund should be fast-tracked to unlock resources so that infrastructural deficiencies can be addressed. There should be more fiscal incentives for small and medium enterprises which prove themselves capable of manufacturing quality products good enough for export. A fresh campaign to patronize made in Nigerian goods should be launched. Example, all uniforms in government-sponsored institutions should be sourced from local factories.
On agriculture, the president described as worrisome that for too long, policies have been half-hearted, while inconsistencies and discontinuities were the order of the day, resulting in lack of visible impact of government presence in the sector. He said if in the 50s, Nigeria produced 1 million tons of groundnuts in 2 successive years, there is no reason why the new agricultural development initiatives cannot be successful now that there are better tools, greater ability, and more effective agricultural science and technology.
Banks substantially increase their lending to the agricultural sector. Central Bank of Nigeria should bear part of the risk of such loans as a matter of national policy.
President Buhari also noted the frequent public concerns regarding severe shortage of housing, high rents, and unaffordable prices for prospective buyers, especially middle and low-income earners.
We must find solutions to the housing deficit. This retreat might start by looking at the laws.
He also promised more funding for health centers to improve service delivery, as sound health system is part of the prerequisites for economic development.
I hope this retreat will come up with practical, viable solutions and recommendations as we chart a course for our nation in this turbulent domestic and international economic environment.
The president therefore urged participants to learn from the shared experiences and perspectives of other countries' economic management strategies towards transforming the nation's economy and improving the lives of the citizens. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Well, another story from the National Economic Council retreat tells us that members are finding answers to the critical questions of national economic development in their deliberations. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports.
The Vice President describes the President's presence at the meeting as a measure of the importance of the retreat. He went further by highlighting the ills that have bedeviled the economy over the years, citing the failure to diversify the economy as one of the causes. This, he noted, is in addition to the unnecessarily high cost of governance, leakages, wastages and inefficiencies which have been allowed for too long. He asked so many questions that the retreat hopes to provide answers to.
The question today then is, how do we survive? The nightmare scenario of extremely low and unstable oil prices, poor infrastructure, and plummeting allocations is already upon us. So what exactly will work? What if oil prices fall even lower and we are getting 50% less from FAC than we collected the last month? What if your state were a country without oil or other natural resources? How would you cope?
Discussions will be in 7 sessions.
This time to close rank, to place our nation above every other consideration. We want government to be more relevant to the people, and we want them to have opportunity to live their life, live a better life. And in order to do this, we must be able to exploit the great natural resources of our country for the benefit of our people.
It is a great task set out here, no doubt, but a problem known is half solved, and it is agreed here that the nation at this time is faced with so many challenges really affecting the people. And now, as participants noted, it is the right time to find the solution to the challenges. From the banquet hall of the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
The federal government says it is committed to revamping the power sector by mainstreaming the needed manpower. Minister of State for Power, Works and Housing, Mustafa Baba Shehuri, stated this in the induction of National Power Training Institute of Nigeria Graduate Skills Development Program. Delia Tumbi reports.
The Minister of State for Power, Works and Housing, Mustafa Baba Shehuri, who identified inadequate manpower as the bane of the power sector, said the federal government is committed to reversing the trend in the best interest of Nigerians. He said the government is making efforts to generate 25,000 megawatts by 2020. The minister advised the inductees to be up and doing during their training in order to provide the needed manpower.
The government of Nigeria is committed to solving once and for all the age-long lack of stable and reliable electricity in the country.
The Director General of the National Power Training Institute of Nigeria, NAPTIN, Ruben Okeke, advocated an act of the Parliament to give legislative backing to NAPTIN in order for it to deliver on its mandate.
The power sector cannot be managed, operated and maintained without a skilled workforce.
Some of the inductees who spoke with NTA News reaffirmed their commitment to being change agents in the power sector. Dele Atumbi, NTA.
And yet in the business of a healthy economy, stakeholders at the first National Assembly Business Environment Roundtable have identified the review, repeal and amendment of 15 bills and laws as fundamental to attracting foreign direct investment and promoting private sector participation. National Assembly correspondent Muhammad Ali reports.
Obsolete, extant and non-existing laws are said to be hindering businesses as well as preventing investors from coming to Nigeria. It is for this reason that the National Assembly engaged the private sector to come up with ways of addressing them to facilitate economic growth of the country. The outcome of that report is what gave rise to this first National Assembly Business Environment Roundtable. Senate President Bukola Saraki restated the commitment of the National Assembly to make laws that will stimulate economic growth, create employment, and generate wealth.
We don't know it all, and that's why you're here today, to tell us what works to make the private sector move forward, to make jobs, to also create jobs, and to provide an enabling environment that people come and invest in Nigeria.
We support whatever you are coming up with to the best of our ability by way of creating enabling laws that will help to enhance better performance.
The quality of the institution and regulatory framework in the system has profound outcomes on economic reform.
Chairman Nigerian Economic Summit Group Kari Bukar, who listed institutions, regulations, legal framework, and constitution as impediments to business and economic development in Nigeria, advocated passage of relevant bills before the National Assembly to reverse the trend.
Without the legislature giving priority to the business environment, the nation risks losing what little jobs are currently available.
And basically find a way of making more finance available to small and medium enterprises, which is critical.
Over the next 10 years, we will seek to identify, nurture, and seed 10,000 African businesses based purely on the merit of the ideas.
Other states are still using the 1914 Arbitration Act that was a colonial act.
The technical session is broken into 11 syndicates to enable legislators and other participants discuss further and come up with solution-based perspective and regulatory framework for the business environment. From the National Assembly, Mohamed Ali, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has congratulated the President-elect of Benin Republic, Patrice Talon, on his electoral victory in the presidential runoff on Sunday, as announced by the Autonomous National Electoral Commission. Presidential spokesman Femi Adesina says in a statement, President Buhari also commended the government and people of Benin Republic on the peaceful and orderly conduct of the elections. He saluted the courage and statesmanship of Prime Minister Lionel Zinsou and presidential candidate of the ruling coalition in upholding the democratic process by promptly congratulating Mr. Talon. The President also commends President Boni Yayi for his leadership throughout the electoral process and his invaluable contribution to democratic governance in the sub-region, evidently demonstrated in the successful conduct of the presidential elections. The President is encouraged by the determination and exemplary conduct demonstrated by the people in coming out en masse to perform their civic duty. Speaker of the House of Representatives, Yakubu Dogara, says the only way the plight of internally displaced persons can be ameliorated faster is through individual contributions to the camps. He said this while inaugurating a health facility in a camp at Wasa in Abuja. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo reports.
They have been here for close to 2 years. Hadiza Amadu, just like other women here, longed to reunite with her husband, whom she said was abducted in 2015. She explains that the absence of amenities here, especially medical facilities, further compounded their trauma.
They came and packed our husbands, and we have not seen them.
There are more than 6,000 internally displaced persons in this camp, but something is happening. Just like most IDP camps in Nigeria, facilities are really non-existent here.
When Speaker Yakubu Dogara visited this camp in January, he promised to provide a clinic for them, and he has fulfilled his promise, courtesy of Vantage Habitat.
We'll visit all the IDPs that are outside the theater of conflict in the northeast first. And when we're done with that, we'll take a visit to the IDP in Yola, and then we'll end it in Maiduguri.
Ironically, Hadiza and Abdullahi and many others here insist they want to go home. From the internally displaced persons camp in Wasa, Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
The federal government has affirmed its commitment to rebuilding school structures in Borno State with increased intervention of 70% through the Universal Basic Education Commission, UBEC. The Executive Secretary, UBEC, stated this in Maiduguri while inspecting reconstructed school facilities that were completely destroyed by insurgents. Franca Uzoma Olua reports.
The words reconstruction, rehabilitation and renovation now occur in every setting in Maiduguri, capital of Borno State, a state that has come under the attack of insurgents in the last few years. The basic education subsector had its own share of the devastation, with many schools completely burnt by the insurgents. The Kuloguma Primary and Junior Secondary School and Gamburu 1 Primary and Junior Secondary School have bounced back to life through the federal government UBEC Special Intervention Fund project after several attacks.
We are bringing more constructions here, more renovations and rehabilitations. And as we see the children now, they are eager to learn wherever we went.
The Borno State government is trying its best by way of reaching out to traditional rulers, by way of reaching out to parents in order to avert future occurrence of what happened.
Similarly, the reconstruction of the Maiduguri Primary and Junior Secondary School is a project designed by the federal government as emergency intervention. A visit to the palace of the Shehu of Borno gives a clearer picture of the havoc caused by the insurgents. Here, 59 sacked district heads now reside in the palace.
In fact, almost all the local government headquarters, if you go there, the primary school were destroyed. No hospital, no dispensaries, no clinics. It's very unfortunate.
Franca Uzoma Olwa, NTA News.
And as part of collective effort by the armed forces of Nigeria to quickly bring to an end the insurgency in the northeast, the Nigerian Air Force Alpha Jet aircraft has successfully attacked suspected Boko Haram logistics base at Alagarno. The Air Force says the target was selected after careful intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance by Nigeria Air Force Unmanned Combat Aerial Vehicle. The target was probably an ammunition depot, a fuel dump, or a facility housing other combustible materials. This is a follow-up to other interdiction missions previously carried out in Sambisa Forest, Kumshe, Iza, and other suspected terrorist hideouts. And Germany has attributed the success recorded so far in Nigeria's war against terrorism to the strong political will of the present administration. German Parliamentary State Secretary of Defense, Dr. Ralf Brauxip, stated this in Abuja while delivering a lecture at the National Defense College. Defense correspondent KG Busare Ahmed reports.
Before now, the Boko Haram terrorists had operated with impunity, making life unbearable for inhabitants in the northeast, especially Borno, Yobe and Adamawa states. But with the coming of the Buhari administration, the terrorists no longer occupy a single territory and have since lost coordination. This, the German Parliamentary State Secretary of Defense, Ralf Brauxip, described as no small feat.
After the last election, there is obviously progress in the fight against Boko Haram. We highly welcome that because this Islamist terrorism is a threat not only for Nigeria, not only for the region, but for the whole world.
The relationship between Germany and Nigeria, of course, has been a very long one and cordial, and there have been benefits both ways.
Nigeria and Germany have had a long-standing bilateral relations in the area of defense. KG Busari Ahmed, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the federal government's strides against the Boko Haram terrorists in the northeast has been described as a true reflection of the Buhari administration's dogged commitment to crushing insurgency. Emir of Damaturu, Shehu Hashimi II Ibn El-Kanem, said this when he received the Buhari Friends Organization Network. Abubakar Galadima Shuaibu has more.
Led by its national patron, Elder Bala Mamman Ingawa, the team was recently at the palace of Emir of Damaturu in Yobe State, seeking to collaborate with the royal father in educating his subjects to realize that the present economic situation is a global issue that needs to be addressed by all.
This government is not an ignorant government when you try to listen. But only our people is too impatient.
On his part, the Emir of Damaturu, Alhaji Shehu Hashimi II, Ibn El-Kanemi, assured the Buhari Friends Organization Network of resolve to partner with them in sensitizing his subject and, by extension, the general public on the policies and programs of President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration.
We were able to enlighten our subjects to be law-abiding. We've been providing useful information to the security.
Leader of the delegation presented appointment letter as royal patron to the emir for his effort towards sustenance of peace in the states. In Damaturu, Abubakar Galadima Shuaibu, NTA News.
A sequel to the Auditor General's report that the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) did not remit 3.2 trillion naira in 2014, the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission has confirmed that a total of 4.9 trillion naira was yet to be remitted into the Federation account by the NNPC. A statement by the Commission's spokesperson, Ibrahim Mohammed, says the 3.2 trillion naira was from the 2014 annual audit report as contained in the NNPC's mandate to the Central Bank of Nigeria, but available records at the Commission's disposal indicate that between January 2011 and December 2015, the sum of 4.9 trillion naira was unremitted into the Federation account by the NNPC, which included claims for subsidy on petroleum products, crude and product losses, strategic reserves, and pipeline maintenance cost. The statement further adds that the Commission, through the FAC post-mortem, has consistently requested the NNPC to provide it with updated financial statements on the projects, but the NNPC is yet to respond. Still ahead, Nigeria marks World Down Syndrome Day. The details when we return.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words: run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
When you look at the world today, what do you see? The obvious, or much more? Do you hear a color tune, or the talents of thousands paying off? Do you see an instant message, or millions of strengthened relationships? Do you see an app or creative entrepreneurs? An email or multiples of successful business transactions? Do you see charity or renewed faith in our shared humanity? Do you hear the laughter of millions of people in Africa's largest family? It's never enough to see only what's before us. That's why MTN is empowering a tomorrow that's driven by digital technology and made for Africa by Africans.
If you work hard and sow, you deserve a good harvest. That's only fair. If you study hard, you deserve good grades. That's only fair. If you train hard, you deserve to win the prize. That's only fair. If you work hard as an employee, you should have something to show for it. That's only fair. At Premium Pension, we understand it's what you put in that guarantees a secure future. Talk to us today about your pension plan. Premium Pension. The future starts now.
You get 3 kinds of mums. The paranoid mum, the cautious mum, and the Dettol mum. She only trusts Dettol antiseptic liquid to protect her family from up to 100 illness-causing germs, and it's recommended for cuts and scrapes. Which is why you can worry less and love more. Don't just be any mom, be a Dettol mom.
Join the Airtel family today and get 5 times the value of every recharge. Recharge with *555* PIN hash on the Airtel network and feel at home.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Our founding fathers worked to establish certain standards of governance. Some of their successors behaved like spoiled children, breaking everything and bringing disorder to the house.
The leaders at that time, as well as those of us that followed them, were patriotic. They went into politics to serve, but not to be served.
It is people doing things wrong and not being sanctioned that led to this escalation.
What is going on now? We are beginning to lift up the quality of leadership.
We must not succumb to hopelessness and defeatism. We can fix our problems.
To keep my family healthy, I take time to make everything look clean.
Yes, but is it really clean? Let me show you. This is why 80% of hygiene-related illnesses are acquired at home. Some cleaners don't kill germs, others kill germs, but don't clean properly. The new Dettol Multi-Surface Cleaner. 10 times better germ kill, 10 times better cleaning, and all-day freshness. 10 times better cleaning and germ kill for a healthy home.
Dettol, endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association.
Buy the new Dettol 55-gram soap for 18 Naira only. Keep your family protected from germs.
Thanks for staying with us on NTA Network News. The federal government says efforts and programs are underway to ensure availability and accessibility of water for domestic and industrial purposes through construction and rehabilitation of dams across the country. The Minister of Water Resources stated this as Nigeria marks this year's World Water Day. Musa Baba Aliu reports.
Demand for water for consumption as well as for industrial purpose has become a major concern in most sub-Saharan Africa, including Nigeria. Efforts by government at all levels to provide this most important resource after oxygen is being threatened by environmental challenges occasioned by global warming. Nigeria, housing over 100 billion cubic meters of both underground and surface water, Minister of Water Resources says the government will ensure availability of water for all purposes. As part of activities to commemorate the 2016 World Water Day, the minister led a roadwalk where he appealed for support of the Nigerian Television Authority in sensitizing the public on government efforts.
The river basins have not been up to, up and doing in the last several years. We're trying to revitalize the river basins.
TA as a whole is in sync with you. Any manner we can collaborate with you to sensitize the people of the citizens of this country with respect to the importance of water and how they will get involved in ensuring that drinkable water is allowed to take its pride of place in this country.
Water and jobs, which is the theme of this year's, underscored the need for the involvement of youth in water and sanitation projects. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has released details of declared results in the Rivers State rerun elections held on Saturday. In a statement, there is the resident electoral commissioner, Anyedi Ikoiwak. It says PDP won 1 federal constituency and 8 state constituencies, while APC won 1 state constituency. Those won by the PDP are Ahoda East 1, Ahoda East 2, Akukuru 1, Emohua, Obiakpo 1, Obiakpo 2, Onelga 1, and Omuma. APC won in Upobu, Nkoro Federal Constituency, while PDP won in Abua Odwe, Ahoda East Federal Constituency. Meanwhile, APC in Rivers State has scored the rerun election in the state low, calling for a total cancellation of the results. Governor Nyesom Wike has, on the other hand, thanked Rivers people for voting PDP, saying INEC and security agencies performed below expectation. In the meantime, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has confirmed the cancellation of the rerun election in 8 local government areas of Rivers State. Director of Voter Education and Head of Publicity of the Commission, Uluwale Osaze Uzi, said this while discussing matters arising from the election on NTA's program Good Morning Nigeria. Oyeyemi Ajayi has the details.
Nigerians have continued to condemn the various electoral violence that occurred during the Rivers State National and State Assemblies rerun elections. 5 persons were reported to have lost their lives, with some INEC officers kidnapped. This, the INEC Director of Voter Registration, said is quite disheartening.
Like suspending the exercise pending when we get a comprehensive report from monitors from the REC and our officials who were on ground, and then we'll now decide what will be the next step to take. So the exercise in all the other local governments of Rivers State has been suspended.
Another guest on the program said Nigerian law does not have a capital punishment spelled out against electoral offenders, and this, he noted, has given some people the audacity to perpetrate violence.
Not been able to minimize the level of desperation on the part of the political actors and the level of overzealousness on the part of their supporters.
The INEC spokesperson said no decision will be made in a hurry for the rescheduling of another election in areas cancelled. In Abuja, Oyeyemi Ajayi, NTA News.
Early medical assistance and developmental interventions beginning from infancy have been suggested for people living with Down syndrome. This is the outcome of a presentation by some children living with the syndrome as Nigeria joined the rest of the world to commemorate this year's World Down Syndrome Day. Adebola Brookslyn Sunday has the details.
Dressed in their school uniforms, but with different colors of socks to create awareness.
If you want me very well, you will.
In songs and rhymes, they showcase their abilities in cooking, barbing, and other artworks. They may be called children with difficulties, but they have the ability to learn and become achievers.
If they are taken care of with patience and love, we have shown you that they are achievers in their own way, that they actually can learn, that they can become independent and make it in this society.
Damilola Adetomiwa made this piece of artwork. He says he is pleased with what he's doing.
I feel good because I'm rich, I'm poor, I'm happy.
Currently, there is no medical cure for Down syndrome. The genetical disorder can be caused by an abnormal cell division involving chromosome 21, a reason for choosing March 21 to mark the day. It was named after John Down, the doctor who first identified the syndrome in 1886. Adebola Brookslyn Sunday, NTA News.
The Nigerian literary world is witnessing a resurgence of the oldest form of literature in the country, oral poetry. Naturally cultural and previously localized, native poetry of yesteryears emerged as today's spoken words, a fast-growing and thrilling variation of modern poetry. Nnamdi Odipo gives a perspective of life in Nigeria on World Poetry Day.
My Nigeria, a paradox of sort, an oxymoron of missed opportunities, yet not taken seriously by some. Soothsayers, gainsayers have had their time, but wordsmiths enter the fray, not to bray, but to pray. Poets speak, but these days nobody answers. Their dying art is worse than cancer. Their food for thought lights the lack of thought in a society in their need of the Midas touch.
Even now, you find a lot of modern poetry very angry, very critical of society and politics. It just seems like poetry just lends itself very readily to that.
The spoken word surely is giving new answers to the quest and questions raised by today's poets. They render not in duet, but in verses soaked in ancient capsules.
Things don't remain constant. And remember that the poet is also reflecting the life of his or her times, as it were.
And so do not think too much of this narrative, because like you, I am in this nation a native, whose hope, just like yours, is for a better day. In March and April, not just in May. In Abuja, Nnamdi Odiko, NTA News.
Go now to our Lagos Network Center. Link up with Abdullahi for more reports. Hello, Abdullahi.
Hello, Cyril. Thanks for joining us in Lagos. Hearing on the criminal charges leveled against Ricky Tarfa by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission resumed again at the Lagos High Court. Abuja before Justice Azizat Okpesanwo. Counsels to both the applicant and the defendant presented their positions on point of law before the court. Tunde Saiki reports.
At the resumed hearing at the Lagos State High Court, Igboshere, over a 2-count charge bordering on obstruction and perversion of the course of justice filed against Mr. Ricky Tarfa by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. The defense lawyer, Abiodun Owonikoko, SAN, said 2 main prayers supported by 16 grounds of defense, 44-paragraph affidavit, 7 exhibits, and a written address have been filed before the court. The counsel then disclosed that EFCC has no powers to prosecute outside economic and financial matters, which the issue at hand is not. He said it will be an abuse of procedural power, and as such, the court should dismiss the case. On his part, counsel to EFCC, Bolahun Latono, said issues raised by the defense on abuse of procedural power only exist in the imagination of the defendant, as reference to civil suit and criminal matters before the courts are different. The one before the court, he says, borders on obstruction of the duty of the EFCC, which derives its authority from the act establishing it. He said the court should dismiss the motion of the defendants and rely on all the position of the prosecution as the issue at hand is criminal. The presiding judge, Justice Azizat Okpesanwo, then adjourned to the 20th of April 2016 for continuation of the proceeding on the matter. In Lagos, Tunde Saiki, NTA News.
A delegation from the European Union and Dutch agricultural experts are in Nigeria on an audit and fact-finding mission to assess the level of compliance with food law requirements. This is with respect to the federal government's 1-year ban on exportation of dried beans from Nigeria to the European Union. Joy Ken Agbakoya reports that the team was at the National Agency for Food and Drugs Administration and Control, NAFDAC, to inspect the agency's food laboratories.
In June 2015, the European Union placed a 1-year ban on the exportation of dried beans from Nigeria to Europe after recording more than 50 rejections of the products. The ban was due to excessive pesticide residue discovered in the agricultural produce. This visit by the European and Dutch missions is to assess factors responsible for the presence of the unauthorized pesticides in the produce.
The discussion now is whether or not what is being exported to Europe can live up to European requirements regarding traceability, safety and quality.
We will check, we will verify whether measures have been adopted along the value chains, and when we will have all the guarantees, I'm confident the ban will be lifted.
Acting Director General of the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, Yetunde Oni, while assuring of the nation's commitment to food safety, emphasized that the agency will not relent in its efforts at ensuring that food meant for local consumption and exports meet international standards.
The beans that were rejected never passed through NAFDAC. And so they are beans produced that were smuggled outside the country.
The outcome of this visit will determine if the ban on exportation of beans will be prolonged or lifted. In Lagos, Joyken Abakpoya, NTA News.
The first batch of young trainees sponsored by the Dangote refinery and petrochemical industry have departed Nigeria for India. Amechpayas reports that while in India, the 50 young Nigerians will be trained on various areas of refining and engineering for a period of 12 months.
One of the cardinal objectives of this training by Dangote refinery and petrochemical industry is to develop quality manpower to drive operations in Nigeria's largest and first private refinery. These young men and women will be exposed to engineering, processing, electrical, maintenance and technical knowledge of crude oil refining.
What we will do while they are there is to ensure that we send them to refineries in India that are currently in operation, especially refineries that are similar to our own, so that they can also participate in the maintenance, they can participate in the operation, they can participate in the overall running of the refinery.
More than 1,000 young Nigerians are to be trained in batches of 50 over the next 24 months. While the training is ongoing, construction of the Dangote refinery and petrochemical industry is in progress. The refinery, which is estimated at over $9 billion, is projected to have a refining capacity of 650,000 barrels per day.
We do not expect, when our operation is in place and working well, we do not expect to see anybody carrying jerry cans anywhere.
The refinery is expected to be completed in 2018. In Lagos, Amechi Pius, NTA News.
You are still watching NTA Network News. Cyril has more stories in Abuja, but before then, a short break beckons here.
Welcome home, agents. This is your biggest mission yet. We've developed something entirely new. EasyFlex Evolution. Evolution? It changes everything the world knows about value. You now can choose between two plans. EasyFlex Data Plus, which gives you all the data you need, plus talk time. Or EasyFlex Voice Plus, which gives you 3 times the talk time and includes a data plan. No matter what you choose, you get the best of both worlds.
This is powerful. There's never been anything like it with so much
value. So what's the mission? There's some who try to keep this from getting out there. Your mission, deliver EasyFlex Evolution to everyone in one piece. Suit up. From now on, it's up to you. You've been briefed.
Auntie! Hello, my dear. I see you went shopping with your mom, right? And what did you buy?
Power oil. It has 0 cholesterol and 0 trans fats. And contains vitamin A and natural vitamin E. It's a healthy oil for a healthy family.
I'll buy Power Oil next time I go shopping, huh?
Power Oil. Healthy for you.
Taste the nectar of paradise. Chi Exotic Nectar in pineapple, coconut, multi-fruita and other exotic flavors. The taste will take you there. Chi Exotic Nectar, escape to paradise.
House of Chi.
Ariel claims Nigeria's best stain removal in one wash. We've come to see if it's true.
Many food greasy stains are difficult to remove because they stick to fibers, like glue. Now I'll show you how a new Ariel with grease cutting technology removes tough food stains better than the competition.
So the claim is true.
Ariel, Nigeria's best stain removal in one wash.
Does your
antiseptic liquid. Kill the germs that cause flu, diarrhea, typhoid. Dettol does. Dettol provides 10 times more protection versus leading competition. Dettol is the #1 selling antiseptic liquid, proven to protect from up to 100 illness-causing germs. So why take a risk with your loved ones?
It's still on to NT Network News. Federal government canvasses single-digit interest rate for Nigerian farmers. The details with Viviane Dekwefo on Business News.
Thank you for joining us on the Business News segment. We start with some cheering news for Nigerian farmers. The Minister of State for Agriculture, Henikin Lokpobiri, says discussions are ongoing with the Central Bank of Nigeria over single-digit loan facility for farmers. This is to strengthen investment in the agricultural sector, thereby cutting down importation of palm oil and other products while creating jobs.
And so we will try and see how we can support you with the relevant farm inputs, including the right fertilizer. But more importantly, what we are concerned is that let us get maximum value for the limited, quantity that we use. If we are producing 1 million metric tons, which means that if we avoid the wastages.
Meanwhile, the European Union has lifted the ban on importation of beans produced from Nigeria. The European Food Safety Authority had placed the ban about a year ago due to high insecticide residue. The EU commended Nigeria for working tirelessly to meet stipulated standards. And now from the financial sector, the Nigerian equities markets began the week on a sustained uptrend as the all-share index appreciated by 0.81%. Market breadth, however, closed negative with 16 gainers against 21 losers. The volume traded moved up by 85.59% against a 10.49% rise recorded in the previous session. That concludes the business news. Good evening.
Thank you, Vivian. Managing Director of the Lagos Deep Offshore Logistics Base, LADOL, Dr. Amy Jadesimi, has said Nigeria has the capital strength to positively transform its economic fortunes to fast-track the dream of being among the G20 nations by the year 2030. This was at a presentation on the fundamentals for success in implementing logistics infrastructure projects at the 6th African Petroleum Congress and Exhibition in Abuja. Salihu Abdullahi has the report.
This gathering offers another opportunity to develop relations and ties between decision makers and professionals from the oil and gas sectors. Managing Director of the Lagos Deep Offshore Logistics Base, LADOL, Dr. Amy Jadesimi's presentation highlights the success story on implementation of economic free zones and also provide an update on the company's contributions on the upgrading of infrastructure said to be key in achieving the desired development. She was specific on transportation and power infrastructure as bases to revive and boost local manufacturing.
Because when international companies are making decisions about where to do their jobs, they look at Nigeria, and if they're looking at Nigeria as a high-cost destination, they're not going to invest here, they're not going to work here. So what facilities like LADOL do is make Nigeria a more attractive destination. The facilities we've built at LADOL make it possible to do things in Nigeria that you simply can't do anywhere else in West Africa, and in some cases on the whole African continent.
She highlighted the enormous human and material potentials spread across the country and pledged the company's resolve to carry on with training and retraining of indigenous workforce. She believes with more sharing of ideas and building relationship with development partners, the country's much-needed opportunities to develop and build capacity will be speedily achieved for economic development. Salihu Abdullahi, NTA News.
As Nigeria is left with only 5% of forest reserves as against 25% recommended by the United Nations, the federal government is to review all forestry laws to checkmate illegal logging activities. Minister of Environment Amina Mohammed stated this during the 2016 International Day of Forests held in Abuja. Mia Ugidi reports.
Over 300 hectares of land is facing deforestation in Nigeria every year. This has challenged the ecological integrity of the natural environment in the country. This action has posed a serious threat on the recreational activities in the country, water supply, biofuel, food, erosion control, climate stabilization, food control, fishing, livestock, and genetic resources. To reclaim this lost forest estate, the federal government of Nigeria is to collaborate with the various states to develop shelter beds and punish those involved in illegal harvesting of timber and bush burning.
Many states now see the forests as a main source of revenue generation, and yet little or nothing is being ploughed back for forestry development. And this really does call for urgent action. To address this situation, let me turn to some of the actions. The Ministry will imminently convene an emergency forest and biodiversity dialogue with relevant stakeholders.
Climate change, of course, is a major global threat and has to be factored into the forest food water equation.
The World Forest Day with the theme Forest and Water was rounded off with the symbolic planting of trees by the Minister of Environment and other stakeholders. In Abuja, Mia Ogidi, NT News.
We'll take another break for more messages. Stay with us.
Community policing in the face of growing security challenges is the focus on NTA Tuesday Live this week. Tuesday Live, informative, interactive, and engaging. Don't be told. Join us.
How I wonder what you are. Hey guys, so I've recently become a mommy and it is the greatest feeling in the world, but also pretty daunting too. Choosing the right diaper, there's so many brands out there. I used Pampers in the UK and they were great, but some of my friends told me that Nigerian Pampers weren't as good. So we decided to try it for ourselves. Nigerian Pampers gets the thumbs up from us. He stays dry, he sleeps well. And you can see how much happy energy he has in the morning. I recommend Pampers to all of my friends. Don't take my word for it. Try it yourself and share your experiences.
You get three kinds of moms. The paranoid mom.
It's hot and it's dirty.
The cautious mom. And the Dettol mom. Only a Dettol mom knows that ordinary soaps aren't enough. She only trusts Dettol to protect her family from up to 100 illness-causing germs, which is why you can worry less and love more. Don't just be any mom, be a Dettol mom. Dettol, be 100% sure.
The production, distribution, and sale of counterfeit and fake drugs is a corrupt practice and a crime against humanity. This has informed several measures and strategies to combat fake drugs, including introduction of anti-counterfeiting cutting-edge technologies to detect fake drugs on the spot. These technologies are being deployed to all the states across the Federation, as well as the internally displaced people's camps. The President, Muhammadu Buhari, and his team are committed to this fight.
The federal government of Nigeria, in line with its anti-corruption agenda and posture, will fight a total war against fake drugs and other unwholesome regulated products in order to ensure that Nigerians remain healthy and well.
Lend your support and join NAFDAC to rid the country of fake drugs and unwholesome regulated products. NAFDAC, safeguarding the health of the nation.
President Barack Obama in Cuba for a 3-day historic visit. This and more on Global Tidbits with Gabriel Odu.
U.S. President Barack Obama is the first sitting president to visit Cuba since the 1959 revolution that sets the two countries apart. President Obama has met with the communist leader Raul Castro, with discussions centering on trade and political reforms. In the United Kingdom, Patients with prostate cancer will now have early access to a drug that can delay the need for chemotherapy. Now to some African news. Benin Republic's outgoing Prime Minister Lionel Zinzo has conceded defeat to Patrice Talon in Sunday's presidential runoff. The Electoral Commission is expected to officially announce the results. Meanwhile, Zanzibar's incumbent President Ali Mohammed Shein has been declared winner of Sunday's rerun of the island's presidential election. However, in Senegal, result of Sunday's presidential referendum is still being awaited. The referendum is to reduce the presidential terms. That's Global Tidbits. Gabriel Odu, NTA News.
Let's get a bit on sports now from Amanzi Marcos.
Portland Timbers FC player Fernando Adi is in high spirit ahead of the two crucial AFCON qualifiers between the Super Eagles of Nigeria and the Pharaohs of Egypt. Adi, who is expected to be capped for the Super Eagles, was on target.
Cloudy to partly cloudy conditions over the other part of the country except the northeastern axis that have prospect of sunny conditions. In the afternoon/evening hours, we expect a better build-up of weather activities to give rise to thunderstorms around the northwestern corner. Kebbi, Yawa, Sokoto, and their environment, we see some activities up to the high grounds of the central cities, the inland cities of the south, and the coastal cities have also prospects of weather activities. And for temperature forecast, stay tuned. And here we'll conclude the weather forecast for today from Nigerian Meteorological Agency.
Well, that concludes Network News tonight. Thank you for watching. Good night.